Let's get ready to rumble!
York Hall can hold a capacity of 1,200 people. It has an old school vibe about it, and it can get damn rowdy in there because it's so compact. I actually wish I was at that Frank Warren show yesterday. I didn't know it was on until I'm watching the post-fight videos. I didn't even know they had a show on. Some big punching on display. WILLI Hutchinson, his third win on the bounce since being demolished by Clarke in 2021. Willie was an unbeaten prospect going into the Clarke fight and got turned over. But he produced big at the York Hall. I've seen Willie fight at the York Hall. I believe he was a haymaker fighter. I believe Hay had him signed at the time when I saw him. He's with Frank Warren now. And he produced a massive right hand to take out Ezequiel Osvaldo Maderna, a 36-year-old Argentinian who was coming off an upset victory over Carol Iturma, Moses Iturma's elder brother, I believe. Carol Iturma was actually on the card and he returned to action with a points victory. Massive right hand by Willie. Maderna looked like he fractionally missed the count, but he was in no fit state to continue. On leaving the ring, Willie approached AZEEZ, who was in attendance. He asked Dan for a fight, and of course Dan said yes.
Well done, man. Brilliant shot, man. Wicked, man. Give me a shot. Hey, what? You don't even have to ask, man. I'll come in here and do it. I swear to you. Come on. Yeah, 100%. 1,000,000%.
Dan is currently the British, Commonwealth and European champion, and Willie wants a shot at the titles. And Dan said no problem. That led to a response on social media saying Ben Shalom will never allow it. And in what I think was the co-main event for the WBO European Cruiserweight title, Maderna versus Hutchinson was for the WBC International Light Heavyweight title. ELLIS ZORRO, 15-0 going into this fight, knocked out Tyson Fury's cousin, as he's always famously referenced as, HOSEA Burton, in the 7th round. It's registered as a TKO, but surely Burton weren't going to get up at any time this year. I mean, that was way more a conclusive KO than Willie Hutchinson's, but maybe they called it off when HOSEA was sleeping on the canvas. But for all intents and purposes, that was a KO, a knockout. HOSEA Burton, he was 28-3 going into this one. 12 inside the distance, 3 losses, all inside the distance. He previously actually lost to AZEEZ, I think for the vacant British light heavyweight title. He seemed to be insinuating that he was drained making light heavy. He moved up to cruiser, won a couple of fights, went up against the 15-0 ELLIS ZORRO. He's 30 years of age, he's from Bromley, Kent, 7 stoppages now, and was brutally knocked out. Before HOSEA said if he loses, he retires. Well, sometimes fighters say that and then they get in a fight where perhaps they done better than what they expected or a controversial points loss and they carry on. But if he's true to his words, we won't see him back in the ring because he was conclusively knocked out badly. And I believe he was doing okay in the fight. I've only managed to get some of the highlights that BT have released.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yo, what happened to Zorro and Tyson Fury's cousin? What happened in that fight?
Oh, that was a good fight. If you haven't seen the knockout, you should see it. It was competitive, and I had Zorro behind a couple of rounds. I think the commentary team did as well. It was a classic case of the tall, thin guy with the long arms against having to try and keep the compact little slugger away, and gradually the slugger got to him. HOSEA Burton's got no inside game whatsoever.
I've got the highlights here. I've got the highlights right here.
The knockout is contender for knockout of the year. It was very picturesque.
Unfortunately, these ugly scenes broke out in what can only be described as a riot. One man got hit by a chair there, laid out unconscious. We'll have to assume fans of HOSEA Burton's got a little too emotional. And it's not a great look, is it? It really isn't a great look.
You don't necessarily train Ryan Garcia. You have to collaborate with him.
First of all, big up Scooter Powell. There's a boxing channel out there. I don't want to take too much of his work, but he put this YouTube short together really well. And that was Joe Goosen telling us you don't really train Ryan Garcia. Let me not misquote him. You don't necessarily train Ryan Garcia. You collaborate with Ryan Garcia. Ryan's got his own ideas and his own thoughts.
He's blueprinted this thing.
And wargamed it. Like, it just sounds a little too bohemian right there, Joe. A little too bohemian. That denim he's wearing made out of hemp. I don't know what's going on there. Teddy Atlas replied to what he heard Joe had to say and said, collaborate? That means you're not a trainer. Go buy a ticket and be a fan. And I haven't agreed with a lot what Teddy said, but yeah, go be a fan if you're going to do that. But then again, he got paid nicely. It looked like Joe was looking for an easy life more than being a taskmaster. Ryan got his yes man. And this is what everyone suspected when he went to Joe Goosen, that Joe was playing the yes man. And Joe gave away the game there. What else are we supposed to make of that statement? No news on the reconciliation with Eddie Reynoso as yet, and he sure will not be collaborating to train Ryan Garcia.
Eddie Reynoso for me is probably the best trainer in the world. But if you're going to be with Eddie Reynoso, you have to listen and you have to do as you're told.
LeRone Richards basically does a 360, full circle. So he started on the small hall circuit, York Hall, Ice Arena Hull. At 6-0 as a pro, 2016, he joins Queensbury. Probably on the recommendation of Billy Joe Saunders, who was very impressed with LeRone. There was the sparring sessions with Eubank where apparently he got the better of Chris. LeRone, in the 3.5 to 4 years he was at Queensbury, went on a 6-fight unbeaten run. The standout performances was winning the vacant Commonwealth title from Tommy Langford, and then he followed that up by taking the British title, the vacant British title, 168-pound titles from Lennox Clarke. 2020, signs with Eddie Hearn, wins the European title in his second fight on Matchroom. Then comes the outstanding victory of his career, where he wins a split decision over Carlos Gongora, which was a bit odd that any judge scored the fight to Carlos Gongora. It was a bit odd. LeRone Richards clearly won the fight. In a fight he was advised by many established people in the industry not to take. Carlos Gongora was 20-0 and had beaten the Golovkin-managed Ali Akhmedov, who is currently highly ranked as a super middleweight. Gongora stopped him and was a very competent, savvy, wily pro Gongora. And LeRone Richards done what he had to do. He outboxed him. Some people said, he could have shown more fire and passion. Dude, he won the fight clearly. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, maybe he could have, but he won the fight clearly in a fight he wasn't supposed to take. This was around the time when Joshua Buatsi was matched with Vlasov. And when both these fights were announced, people were like, oh, what's Eddie doing? Is he trying to kill them man in there? Well, Buatsi was injured, and that Vlasov fight was never rescheduled. But Richards went through with the Gongora fight and won. So you're thinking now,
What could be better?
yo, you're in the driving seat now. He was world ranked. Now, LeRone is not a power puncher. His record currently stands 17 wins, only 4 inside the distance, no reverses, no draws. He's a boxer, a pure boxer. He's not easy to match. He's a southpaw. He was with Frank Warren, one of the greatest promoters this country or the world has produced. And Frank took him as far as he could go. LeRone left. He's with Eddie Hearn, and LeRone is a job for anyone to promote. After the Gongora fight, Richards probably believes he deserves a world title shot. But it's not that easy. It's just not that easy. LeRone needs to put his name in lights. It is what it is. Eddie matches him with Ali Akhmedov, who lost to the guy who LeRone beat, Gongora. But the facts are, Akhmedov came back from the Gongora fight, picked up a win, and he was ranked again. This is a great fight to take. It's on the undercard. It's on the undercard of Canelo versus Triple G. It gets no bigger than that. Richards, in his opinion, felt this was a backward step, fighting somebody who's been beaten by the person he beat. But the facts are, southpaws who have only scored 4 stoppages in 17 wins and are hard to sell rely heavily on style matchups. Gongora, great fighter, not great, but very good fighter, is a methodical, poor man's version of Mike McCallum. So that was always going to be a boxing match between him and LeRone. Ali Akhmedov, however, is aggressive, come forward, try to take your head off. Counterpunchers, southpaws, who are hard to sell, need Ali Akhmedovs to bring the best out of what they do. It's a huge opportunity. He turns down the fight, signs with Ben Shalom, boxer. He's scheduled to fight Zach Chelly for the English title, not the British title, the English title. Zach is 12-1-1, and this fight will be on the undercard, I believe, of one of the AZEEZ brothers at Alexander Palace. Now, let's bear in mind that Ali Akhmedov has a way more credible reputation as a fighter than Zach Chelly. He's ranked higher than Zach Chelly. You know, fighting on the undercard of Adam Azim at Alexander Palace. Is that not a step down? Rather than fighting Akhmedov at the T-Mobile Las Vegas on the undercard of Triple G and Canelo. So the Zach Chelly fight was set for November last year, and LeRone has a bad turn in his hotel, passes out, and he is deemed unwell, can't go through with the fight. So he's basically been inactive since December 2021 when he beat Gongora. Today, I'm browsing through some boxing sites, and who turns up? LeRone Richards fighting on a card promoted by Mervyn Turner, matchmaker Mervyn Turner, at the Mayor Centre, Leicester. As small haul as you can get. LeRone turns up fighting Harry Matthews. He scores a knockout in the 4th round, and he's back on small haul cards. So from Frank Warren to Eddie Hearn to Ben Shalom, where next? The other big main promoter in the country is Wasserman on Channel 5. Or drops down a level to Fights Academy. He's fighting 6-rounders. So he started on small halls, went through all the 3 main promoters in the country, and is back on small hall shows. Ali Akhmedov, who he avoided on Matchroom, is now ranked number 3 by the WBC. Akhmedov is ranked number 5 by the IBF. He's also ranked number 11 by the WBO. Zach Chelly is ranked number 14 by the WBA after upsetting Anthony Sims on a boxer card. And LeRone Richards is the forgotten man. Quite a sad story, really. Quite a sad story. Got a lot of potential, but you don't turn down opportunities like the Akhmedov fight on the undercard of Canelo and Triple G. You just don't do that. And you've got to remember, the game owes you nothing. You've got to take your opportunities. Frazer today has said he's had easier weeks. Let's put it that way. He says he's an innocent party in this. He says he's the guy that wanted the fight. Okay. He says he's the guy that wanted the fight. It sounds like he's saying it in a way that he's the guy who wanted the fight, the other guy didn't. Well, that's not true. That certainly ain't true. Clarke, as many fans are already aware, reinforced his status as a game fighter who was up for the challenge before acknowledging that his team perhaps weren't so on board. And there lies the issue, doesn't it? And he goes on to say, I was confident in myself, obviously. There's a lot of speculation about other people not being confident in me. But it is what it is. I know what I'm capable of. I always back myself, no matter who I'm fighting. It was no different with Fabio. Now, Frazer, Olympic bronze medalist, he's currently 6-0, said he was still interested in the fight at a later date, even for a little shot at Fabio Wardley. At the minute, it's not to be. I think for the sake of the fans, let's hope it gets sorted. It's a bigger fight now, so hopefully we do get in the ring at some point, and Frazer says he's definitely willing to do that. He said he can understand Fabio's frustrations. He says he himself is now very frustrated. Obviously, Fabio is on the wind-up on socials, He's got some great editing skills, probably better than his boxing skills, to be fair. Throwing a little funny shot at Fabio there. Clarke said his fight that was set for June the 10th at the York Hall against Harry Armstrong has now been pushed back the following week, and has confirmed that his opponent will not be Harry Armstrong. Alright, so here's my take on events so far. Frazer is very popular. Big dude, former security guard for Sky, Olympian, 258, managed Anthony Joshua's imprint, trains a lot with AJ, a lot of photo ops with AJ, big strong lad. Nobody who supports Fraze wants to have it in their mind that he didn't want the fight. And he can say he's disappointed repeatedly and keep telling us that. But while I feel he may have wanted the fight, it's looking like he's complying with the parties in his team who don't believe he's ready for it a little too willingly. He probably doesn't want to disrupt what he's built at Boxer, at Sky, with 258 at the moment. He probably don't want to disrupt the momentum, and he's trying to make the best of it and get on with it. That's the other debate. I think there are other fighters who may have pointed the finger specifically at those who they are aggrieved with pulling him out of this fight, which was a huge person, a huge opportunity. I'm not feeling Fraze as someone who really wants it that badly. I think there's a lot of fighters that would have felt suffocated if this is the case, that either 258 or Ben Shalom don't believe in them, and they would be expressing that. There may be some fighters who would look to get legal advice, maybe talk to the board and ask them, can the promoter withdraw me from a purse bid that you have ordered? Yeah, I do believe he wanted it. I believe he wanted the fight, though. At the same time, I believe Ben is taking some of the heat for him as well. I think Ben had a dual motive for withdrawing the purse bid: protect Fraze, and I believe him and Sky want to work out a strategy where the fight doesn't end up on DAZN. How they do that, I don't know. If it goes to a purse bid, it's the highest bid, and that's that. I mean, they say they're going to revisit the Woodley fight. Surely you're not going to try and make more offers to Fabio, because that's not working, yeah? If Ben is not going to go forward with a purse bid for that fight, don't bother. Don't bother.
Talk to you about the history then.
It's a good sparring story that we've all been told in the gym. Is that why I told you it, or am I slipping it up?
No, he's told me, he's trying to get out of you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, well, from what I know, Ohara stopped Rolly in sparring, so you can, I don't mind saying that, actually. I'm quite confident, because he'll probably do it again in the fight, so...
Yeah, don't surprise me. Ohara is a heavy-handed guy. I've seen his punch power live up close. Josh Taylor said as much after defeating Ohara. Yeah, he's heavy-handed. He is heavy-handed. Stopped Rolly in a sparring session. Big up Boxing Wave. He was asking, what if Barroso beat up Rolly tonight? I replied, it's not going to happen. Would love to see it though. And I have reasons beyond disliking Rolly. I don't dislike him. I have reasons. Rolly will win tonight. Barroso just doesn't look like he should be in the ring. Obviously he's passed all his medicals, but that don't look like a healthy fighter to me. I expect Rolly to stop Barroso. I want Barroso to win, because the whole idea of Rolly picking up that belt and then Leonard Ellaby and Floyd setting up Tank Davis to go beat Rolly up for a second time and become a world champion, hey, if they can pull it off, no problem, I accept it, but I'd rather not see it. I'd rather not see either guy nominated to fight for the title, to be honest. It's weird though, you know. I keep hearing that John Ryder didn't deserve a title shot, although he won the interim belt against Zach Parker, which Demetrius Andrade, a fighter a lot of people talk up in America, he wouldn't take that fight, and there was a lot of money on the table. He's just sitting around doing nothing, and you're telling me Ryder didn't deserve his shot. Well, how does Rolly deserve a shot? Get knocked out in one weight class and then get nominated to fight for a title in the weight class above. We don't have fighters who get them kind of privileges in Britain. So yeah, we might not have the talent pool that you have over there, but we don't have some of the bullshit. You know? Like, I don't want to turn it into a rant. I won't be staying up to watch Rolly and OLDFACE. Trust me, I won't be staying up to watch it. Rolly versus OLDFACE KILLAH.